I'm new to training this year. My FTP has increased from 160 to 278. She mentions that yeah, right. Talk about a big boost. So
I need that in 93 days or something.
You want to send her an email and see what she did, Nate?
Yeah, look at her
she says, I'm female, 28 and 65 kilograms. I did some structure to start, but largely have just been learning to ride in a group and trying out local climbs and routes and enjoying my best fitness of my life. I hope to start your training plans in the fall. Good job, Diane. That's awesome. And to hear that you're enjoying cycling and getting into it. She says, I just competed in my first crit race and I won. I sat mid-pack for most of the race. Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah. No, I'm just Cat 5, Cat 4, maybe a Cat 3 men's race.
Yes, it's impressive. She says, I sat mid-pack for most of the race and sprinted for a win. Nice job, Diane. Good tactics too. I stayed in zone 2 for most of the race, and the organizer told me to win a few, do some attacks, then maybe I can upgrade. So what tactics would you suggest for a solo rider overpowered for the category? This is the opposite end of what usually all of us are dealing with. We're trying to just unlock the puzzle of trying to win. But in this case, she's got latitude to work with here. So Nate,
Diane's at 4.2 watts per kilogram.
That's so fast.
Like, especially for, I think for men and women, I forget what it is, but I think it's based on our bell curves, is it 1 watt per kg between the sexes at the same age?
I believe. And of course, that data may be off, but yeah, sorry, Keegan, you were going to say?
I said, I think that's about right.
Yeah. So imagine you're coming into cycling and you're at 5.2 watts per kilo, right? And she's at 148 pounds, 140 pounds. So she's like she's not a 100-pound woman. She's got a diesel engine, right? At 278. She's going to win every race without even trying to do anything. There's no tactics needed. Any tactics that she learns now are probably not even right tactics. So she'll be kicking it. Just go off the front and stick it at 400. Like her. Sorry, Keegan. That was my Keegan impression. But she's so much stronger than everybody in her field. Where at that level, like the average might be 2.5. Right? She's gonna have like 80 watts on people, which is insane. I would say, Diane, I would do group rides, and probably group rides with either pro women that or strong men. And if you get comfortable in pack riding, so I'm going to assume you're comfortable in pack riding, fast riding with a bunch of people. If you can do that, I would upgrade as fast as you can to be in a more competitive field, because then that's when you'll really learn tactics. And I don't think you're going to learn how to win being so dominant and stronger than everybody else. I don't know. Ivy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that she should get as much. I agree that there won't be a lot of tactic or like things to be learned in those beginner categories. But for the sake of appeasing those organizers or the USAC officials that are trying to see her not just right away, because I do know that some officials won't approve your upgrade if you're just riding off the front of those fields, because they want to see you be in the field and know that you can safely and comfortably move around in a field before upgrading you. Because after you get out of the 4 or 5s, you're in the 1, 2, 3s in the women and racing with potentially professionals. And so they want to see you have pack skills. So she's just got to check the boxes and move around in the field and scoop up some preems and just do that for a few races. And then beyond that, fast group rides. And then once, I think with the categories with USAC, so if you're a woman in a category 2 or 3, you can do a men's race, but you can only do it within a certain drop-in category. So she shouldn't be doing men's races now, because I think she can only do men's 4 or 5 races or something. And I don't think she should be doing
one category down. So
yeah, that's right.
We did. Yeah. Sophia raced with the men Cat 3, whatever that field was at the Utah State Champs, because the women's race was going to only be 45 miles. So she wanted to race with the men, and they're you can race one category down with the men, which makes sense.
I think she top 5'd, didn't she, Sophia?
Yeah, I think so.
Did she?
Nice.
Heck yeah.
Those poor
Way to go.
guys.
She's gonna destroy me.
You
Poor
should
me.
get better.
Think about me, Keegan.
Poor Nate. That was going to be my suggestion. I'm glad that you guys are obviously more educated on this matter. Cause I was going to say, see if you can race with the men's fields. I know locally we have like some races are USAC sanctioned, some aren't, but at our local races, we'll have a hand like Caitlin Bernstein and a handful of like professional cyclocross racers and gravel racers. They'll race with the men's fields a lot of the time. They'll do both. They're savage. They'll like do the women's race, and then like right after that, the men will go, and they'll just like line right up and go and do both back to back. If it's not like too heavily sanctioned, sometimes an organizer will allow that, and that could be really helpful because with your power to weight ratio, depending on the course and everything else, and that puts you to be competitive with a lot of A groups. Like, I mean, a lot of A groups, like you'll be right there toward the front. So that's one thing that you can do to definitely get the tactics. What if she's stuck though? What if she just, because I bet there are other racers listening to this where you're just faster than the people that you race with by a lot. Is there anything that you can do within those races to get more out of them?
Single leg drills.
Trained before.
Talk about a flex.
Do multiple races.
How would that make you feel? Be like
you imagine?
struggling, like just like at the back, just dying to hang on, and someone's up there doing a single leg drill. I'd be like, I would just quit. I'd just like exit off the course into the parking lot. Like, I
mean, if she had the time, she could go do like a bit of endurance before the race, and like if she went and did like 2 or so hours, and like came into the race a little bit of fatigue. That way she'd be forced to race a little smarter and actually, like I said, basically it essentially like lower her FTP and power. So she'd be racing, like be able to like sit in the pack and maybe have to draft a little more and like do more tactics. And she still could win with how strong she is. So I think that's probably what I'd do.
Yeah. Unfortunately for now, her expectation just has to be that these races aren't going to be challenging, and has to kind of structure her training and other like race like opportunities around getting her challenges there. Like if you can find a really fast race ride with, like a fast A group to learn how to, I mean, I'd be surprised even with how strong Diane is, if she would be able to like stay with the front of a race group because of how tricky it is to like hide and conserve and use your energy wisely. Like that's the stuff that we're talking about when we're talking about learning how to race smart. And so those should be the opportunities that Diane sees as constructive and like productive versus like these crits with, Cat 4-5 women, unfortunately. And then she's got to get her upgrade points.
That is a key. Go ahead.
Sorry, Nate, please.
That is what you just said is so key. So we've talked a lot about this, about learning how to win and then learning how to conserve. And a lot of times, if you're in the race that you can win, you don't always need to conserve. And the way that I learned it is I was racing or doing group rides that were way above my fitness level. And I was just conserving everything I could in order to stay with that. I'm thinking like the drop ride in Reno to try to make it. And I never made it, right? I would never have a chance to win. And then when I went into category racing, I could win those races, but also I can conserve the whole time. So I would use the skills that I learned from being on the limit, because you really find that like those 3 inches of like being in the draft, when you're about to get popped, you feel it a lot more than if like Keegan were to ride with me. He wouldn't even care where he's sitting in the draft, right? Because it's so easy for him. And if you can combine those two, where you get a really hard race, but then you can also have another type of race that you can win in to learn how to win, that'd be great. But still, Diane, I would go higher. Ivy, you said you had, under my understanding, the USAC official doesn't need to see anything. If you have the points, you upgrade, and you're automatically upgraded. They're not going to be like, well, you haven't ridden enough. If you ride it, I'm thinking of Brendan Wirtz. He rode off the front in the men's category in every road race and just soloed and won, and they just boop, right up as he got his points.
Oh, that must
not
be
the
nice.
case. I know.
But no, that's totally not the case. Like I've heard of many examples of the other side of that, where riders that ride off the front, the officials will be like, no, like you don't have any pack experience. So
yeah,
it depends upon the discretion of the official.
The reason that we actually in USAC, the reason that and I could be wrong, a USAC official is going to write me and let me know I'm wrong. So apologies in advance. But as I understand it, the reason that you reach out to a local USAC official to submit your upgrade points at that time is because they want that local USAC official hopefully knows of you and has seen you race and is able to then also provide some context to the numbers in approving that upgrade. So otherwise, if we just had the points and everything else, there's a lot of, you'd hope that USAC would just keep track of our points for us and just do that. But it's not just about that. You have to still appeal for an upgrade every time. And I think it's for that reason, like what you're saying, Ivy. A frustrating thing with this too is that she won't be marked because she'll be such a distant, like there's no chance the field will be able to hold on to her, that it's not like anybody's going to try to hold on to her. Like I've seen this in different fields, even in the men's field locally, when Justin Rossi was just ripping fast, when we were having our criteriums and road races, when he would attack, everyone would just be like, oh, he's in a different race, basically. Like they just let him go. So that can be really frustrating. And one thing, Diane, if you're having that issue, no matter how you move up or whatever else in your local region, if you race with fragile ego dudes and you're a woman and you are racing with them and dropping them, they will never let you go. So they will be extremely upset. So if you are like not marked because you're just at there's too much of a gap between you and the rest of the women's field, you can always make sure that dudes will be upset if you try to drop them. So they'll try to hold your wheel.
If you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up.
If you didn't like this video, you can give it a thumbs down, but let us know what you would have done differently in the comments below.
If you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to become a faster cyclist, check out TrainerRoad.com.
Do it.